Mayor Tiffany Henyard, once a symbol of hope for Dalton, is now at the center of a scandal that's making national headlines. And for all the wrong reasons. What began as a hopeful political career with big plans to revive the town has quickly unraveled into a shocking story of financial mismanagement, alleged personal gain, and federal investigations. Henyard, who once commanded loyalty from local officials and residents, is now under intense scrutiny after evidence emerged suggesting she misused taxpayer money to fund a luxurious lifestyle at the expense of the very community she vowed to serve. Henyard's rise to power was fast and dramatic. She became mayor following the sudden death of her predecessor, Frank Zuccarelli. Her appointment raised questions, but she quickly silenced her critics with bold promises for progress, focusing on initiatives for veterans, seniors, and economic development to turn Dalton around. By 2021, Henyard solidified her control, winning the mayoral election with overwhelming support and adding the role of supervisor for Thornton Township, two powerful offices under her control. This boosted her salary to an estimated $200,000 annually. However, as Henyard's political power grew, so did the controversy. Her tenure became plagued with allegations of financial mismanagement and a lack of transparency. Critics accused her of turning Dalton into her own personal empire, with municipal resources being allegedly diverted for personal use. Henyard's lavish spending, including expensive vacations, designer shopping sprees, and a $500,000 driveway for her mother's house, raised serious concerns, especially with Dalton facing a $3.5 million deficit. As the revelations grew, residents, who were already struggling financially, voiced their anger on social media, decrying the misuse of taxpayer dollars. Yet, Henyard continued to consolidate her power, silencing critics and securing loyalty from her political allies. The situation escalated when the FBI launched an investigation into her actions, leading to a raid on her home, where agents uncovered millions of dollars in hidden cash. This suggested that Henyard was using public funds to enrich herself. The raid also revealed further misuse of public money, including a staggering $67,000 spent on travel in just 5 months, an amount that far exceeded the annual income of many Dalton residents. What was supposed to be a business trip to Springfield turned into a luxurious personal getaway, complete with high-end hotels, meals, and motorbike rides, all paid for by taxpayers. Perhaps the most shocking revelation was that Henyard had used public funds to promote her image, with her face plastered on billboards throughout the town, not for campaign purposes, but for vanity. This came at a time when Dalton was struggling with inadequate municipal services and increasing debt, sparking further outrage. To add fuel to the fire, Henyard's charity, the Henyard Care Foundation, originally created to support breast cancer victims, was accused of funneling donations into her personal expenses, including vacations and designer clothes. What once seemed like a promising political career has now spiraled into a scandal that has left Dalton residents in disbelief. Once hailed as a beacon of hope for the town of Dalton, Mayor Tiffany Henyard is now the face of scandal, corruption, and financial ruin. What started as an inspiring political career has devolved into a web of serious allegations and federal investigations, shattering public trust. Henyard, initially seen as a leader who could revive a struggling town, now stands accused of using taxpayer money for a lavish lifestyle. Reports have emerged suggesting the Henyard Care Foundation, a breast cancer charity she founded, was misused to fund personal expenses, including a $500,000 driveway for her mother's home. As public anger reached a boiling point, it was revealed that Henyard used taxpayer funds to finance extravagant vacations, sell self-promoting merchandise, and even pay for a personal security team that cost taxpayers a fortune. Despite the mounting evidence, Henyard has refused to explain these expenditures clearly, leading many to believe she used her position for personal gain. The scandal worsened as it became clear that Dalton's financial crisis was being aggravated by her mismanagement. The town's debt continued to rise, municipal services deteriorated, and roads went unrepaired, all while Henyard's lavish lifestyle stood in stark contrast to the needs of the community. Her actions sparked widespread outrage, with many arguing that she epitomized the dangers of unchecked political power and the ease with which public resources can be misused for personal benefit. As the FBI's investigation into her alleged financial misconduct deepens, rumors suggest Henyard's inner circle is beginning to crack, with some of her allies reportedly cooperating with authorities to avoid legal repercussions. Henyard, however, remains defiant, publicly claiming that the allegations are politically motivated attacks aimed at tarnishing her reputation. Yet, her attempts to rally support on social media have largely fallen flat, with growing calls for her resignation as new details of her spending and questionable activities surface. What was once a promising political career is now being remembered for scandal, betrayal, and greed, rather than the revitalization of Dalton Henyard once promised. The investigation casts a long shadow over her time in office, and her fall from grace serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of consolidating too much power and the importance of holding public officials accountable. As more revelations emerge, Dalton residents are left questioning how deep the corruption truly runs. Henyard's credibility continues to crumble, and the future of Dalton remains uncertain. Her legacy will likely be one of missed opportunities, financial ruin, and a community struggling to recover from the damage caused by her leadership. The saga of Tiffany Henyard underscores the vital need for transparency, integrity, and accountability in public office, and serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences that follow when these values are disregarded. What began as a period of political ambition for Dalton has now spiraled into a cautionary tale of unchecked power and the erosion of public trust. Mayor Tiffany Henyard, once seen as the savior of Dalton, now finds herself at the heart of a scandal that has spiraled out of control, with financial mismanagement, ethical violations, and shocking retaliation. The town, once hopeful under her leadership, is now facing severe financial ruin, while Henyard continues to live as though Dalton's problems were of no concern to her. Her leadership, which was initially praised, soon gained a reputation for being driven by ego and retaliation. Anyone who dared challenge her authority reportedly faced swift punishment. Employees, local business owners, and even political allies found themselves at the mercy of her wrath. One of the most striking cases involves Boeing Thrash, a longtime employee of Thornton Township. Thrash claimed he was fired after he refused to comply with Henyard's demands, including replacing an attorney with one of her choosing. Henyard allegedly offered him a $100,000 raise in exchange for his cooperation, but when he declined, he was quickly dismissed. This was just one example of Henyard's culture of retaliation. Her allies weren't safe either. Carmen Carrilli, a former trustee who once stood by her side, became a whistleblower, publicly exposing a toxic atmosphere of intimidation and harassment. Carrilli's allegations were further backed by reports that Henyard had used police resources to intimidate and silence critics. Officers were allegedly sent to their homes to threaten them into submission. The abuse of power was not just political, it seeped into every aspect of her leadership, further eroding public trust in her administration. But the most shocking claim came from her former assistant, P. Dukes, who filed a lawsuit for sexual harassment after a taxpayer-funded trip. Dukes claimed that after reporting the incident, she was placed on unpaid medical leave, highlighting just how toxic and abusive Henyard's administration had become. With legal battles stacking up, Henyard's administration was also crumbling financially. The town, already drowning in debt, was now facing a $2 million deficit, unpaid bills for essential services like street paving and tree trimming, and a complete lack of proper financial oversight. Dalton hadn't even had an annual audit since 2021. Meanwhile, reports began surfacing about a $3 million scandal involving blank checks, a 21% increase in police expenses, and a staggering $65 million deficit in the general fund. Henyard tried to shift the blame, especially onto her former right-hand man, Keith Freeman, who is facing charges of bankruptcy fraud. Rumors suggest Freeman may be cooperating with investigators, potentially implicating Henyard in even more financial wrongdoing. But despite her attempts to deflect, the evidence continues to mount, making it harder for her to maintain any shred of credibility. What was once viewed as a promising political career is now unraveling as a tale of unchecked ambition, financial mismanagement, and personal corruption. Despite the growing public outrage and mounting evidence, Henyard has refused to accept responsibility. Instead, she's dismissed the backlash as politically motivated attacks, but her actions paint a much darker story, one of ambition, ego, and personal gain at the expense of the town. Her lavish lifestyle, funded by taxpayer money, became a symbol of her disconnection from Dalton's needs. Henyard's expenses were outrageous: luxurious trips, excessive security costs, and self-promotion, including billboards featuring her face, all while Dalton's financial situation worsened. As her critics point out, Henyard's priorities were clearly misaligned. She was more interested in consolidating power than addressing Dalton's real issues. Allegations of intimidation and retaliation against employees, political opponents, and even business owners who didn't comply with her demands have left many fearful to speak out. Henyard's reputation continues to sink, with residents losing faith in her leadership as the town spirals further into financial chaos. Despite the storm of controversy surrounding her, Henyard has continued to deflect responsibility, blaming everything on the pressures of public office. However, her actions suggest a much darker reality. Her refusal to acknowledge the gravity of her mistakes has only worsened Dalton's crisis. The FBI's investigation into Henyard's administration continues, with her former right-hand man, Keith Freeman, now facing serious charges. He's rumored to be cooperating with investigators, potentially implicating Henyard in further financial scandals. Henyard's fall from grace serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked political power. Her leadership, once seen as bold and promising, is now remembered for its corruption, retaliation, and the financial collapse of Dalton. With mounting calls for accountability, the town is left to pick up the pieces of the damage Henyard's leadership has caused. The future of Dalton remains uncertain, and many are left wondering who will step forward to restore integrity and trust in the town's leadership. Once seen as a beacon of hope, Mayor Tiffany Henyard's time in office has now been defined by scandal, corruption, and gross mismanagement. What was supposed to be a promising leadership story, filled with bold ideas for Dalton's future, has instead devolved into a cautionary tale of unchecked power, where personal ambition overshadowed the public good. The growing FBI investigation, combined with mounting legal troubles and the freezing of state funds, could be the turning point Dalton desperately needs. For the town to heal and rebuild, it must focus on restoring financial stability and re-establishing accountability within its government, something Henyard failed to provide during her troubled tenure. The path forward requires strong leadership and decisive action, qualities that Henyard's administration lacked from the very start. As Dalton faces the aftermath of her leadership, it's clear that the town needs a clean slate, where those involved in financial mismanagement and unethical practices are held accountable. The leadership that Dalton deserves must be committed to transparency, fiscal responsibility, and ethical governance, principles Henyard consistently failed to uphold. Her inability to live up to the promises she made and her mishandling of Dalton's finances have left the town in a state of disarray. Now, the community is left searching for a new direction, one where public service takes priority over personal gain. The residents of Dalton deserve a leader who values their needs, not their own personal enrichment. As for Henyard, her legacy is already set in stone: corruption, financial ruin, and a complete breakdown of trust. The scandal surrounding her administration serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked power. When a leader views public service as a means of personal control, the consequences can be catastrophic. For now, Dalton's residents are left hoping that the ongoing FBI investigation will bring justice and that the long road to recovery will finally begin. But with Henyard continuing to deflect blame and downplay the severity of the accusations against her, it's clear that the path to accountability will be anything but easy. Only time will tell if Dalton can recover from the damage she has caused. But one thing is certain. Her legacy will serve as a warning for future leaders about the destructive power of unchecked ambition.